What is up, guys? It is AJ from MMA Experts, and we are talking about Bellator 244 Bader versus Nemkov. Good card that we had, some fun fights, big victory in the main event for Vadim Nemkov. Let's talk about a couple fights on the undercard that are worth mentioning first, and then we'll move our way up to the top. So the first fight we'll be talking about is Josh Hill, Eric Perez. Very good performance for Josh Hill. Gets a decision over Eric Perez. I predicted this to happen. I saw a decision win. He did so. Congrats to Josh Hill. Solid fighter in this 135 division in Bellator. I'm excited to see where he goes from here. Sydney Outlaw, split decision win over Adam Piccolotti. I thought Piccolotti was actually going to get it done here, but Outlaw, game as they come, gets the win by split decision in a very competitive fight with Adam Piccolotti. Now, moving up, Yaroslav Amosov, 24-0 versus Mark Lemminger. He defeats Lemminger by cut stoppage. He was winning the whole first round, dominating it, and they stopped the fight in the corner. I was happy to see Amosov get a win. Kind of wish it would have went a little longer. I did want to see Lemminger get a little bit more of a shot, but I definitely saw Amosov getting the win. I think he had that fight pretty much in the bag, and obviously the fight was stopped, and he gets the win here. Now it's 24-0 as a pro, almost unheard of in terms of record and streak there. That's very impressive. Now, John Salter opened up the main card with a submission victory over Andrew Capel. He does so by arm triangle on the ground. Pretty much dominated the whole thing against Capel. Capel didn't have the grappling for him. I predicted he wouldn't. And he was dominated by John Salter. Excuse me. And I think Salter right now is interesting in this middleweight division. I mean, he gets a big win over Capel. I think he's towards the top of the division. The only loss is to the former champion, Lovato Jr. I think John Salter, maybe after the Douglas Lima Gegard Mousasi fight, he'll get the winner of that, because I definitely feel that he could be in the running and deserve so. Let's quickly pull up his record. I want to see who he has fought. I mean, 3 straight wins. Chidi Njokuani, who's tough. Castello Vanstines and Andrew Capel. I think that it's time to give a shot to the very high level. I mean, wow, 0-2 there. Like, sorry, I got distracted for a second. He fought a guy who was 0-2 recently. I didn't even realize that. Claudio Anciaro. That's crazy. On the Bellator card, they fight a guy 0-2. And this is why I kind of will debate that the UFC's not at that, or excuse me, Bellator's not at the UFC's level. Like, when they try to claim, oh, the Bellator division is more stacked. You have a guy who's 12-3 fighting a guy who's 0-2 here in 2016, who just won against Brandon Halsey. That's ludicrous to me and would never happen in the UFC. Not trying to shit on Bellator, but I'm just being honest. That's insane. But he's on a 3-fight win streak, though. John Salter's in the mix. Capel, tough loss here. He's a fun fighter to watch, so I like him. Now, moving up, Valentine Moldovsky defeats Roy Nelson. Man, Roy Nelson does not really have it anymore. He's 23-19 now. His record is getting close to 50-50. I think he needs to consider calling a career. I mean, that's 4 straight losses. It's not looking good. Moldovsky dominated him over the course of 3 rounds. Obviously, Roy Nelson's tough, and he's not going to go get knocked out, but now it says 5 losses. That's crazy. He lost to Mitrione, wow, Karatanov, Krokop, Mir, and now Moldovsky. Yeah, that's not a good run. And I mean, his only win in Bellator was against Javier Ayala in his debut fight. I think they need to maybe let him go, maybe encourage him to retire. Maybe he goes to bare knuckle. I don't know. I mean, Valentin Moldovsky, though, is very skilled. He's 10-1 now. He's got 3 wins, 4 wins. Wow, he's actually got a lot of wins at Bellator. And the loss to Amir Akbari, there's nothing wrong with that. Akbari's a high-level wrestler. I mean, he beat Carlos Jimenez Tafa, Ernest James, who I don't know. Linton Vassell, that's a big win that he beat Linton Vassell, who then went on to knock out Sergey Karatanov, Javier Ayala, Roy Nelson. I mean, let's be honest, Valentin Moldovsky's legit. Ryan Bader's got to keep an eye on him. And man, I just think Roy Nelson's got to call it. That's just so bad. 23-19 when this guy was a former high-level fighter in the UFC. I think he really needs to retire. He's 44 now. He does not have it anymore. Julia Budd, Jesse Mille. Budd dominates, wins a decision. Glad she did so. Good fight. But moving up to the main event, Ryan Bader, Vadim Nemkov. Nemkov knocks Bader out. He did. He looked good, man. Nemkov is high level in this light heavyweight division, especially in Bellator's light heavyweight division. Next, it seems like he'll get the fight against Corey Anderson, and I definitely think he can win that fight. I think that Ryan Bader would have gave Corey a lot of problems, and now Nemkov definitely is going to give Corey a lot of problems. Corey's a bit less durable in terms of, what we've seen out of a lot of guys at light heavyweight over the years. He definitely doesn't take the best punch, and I think Nemkov can land a kick, which is going to be more brutal. able to knock him out. OSP knocked him out with a head kick. I could see a head kick knockout win for Nemkov in his fight versus Corey Anderson. I definitely think that's a scary fight for Corey. Corey really has to try to get this fight to the ground and be cautious on the feet, because if Nemkov lands one big kick, it will end very fast. It could end in the first round. I could see a first round win there. For Bader, he has to move up to heavyweight. Scary fights, man. Valentine Moldovsky's in the mix, and I don't think Bader fares well. I think Bader has a very scary route ahead of him in Bellator at the heavyweight division. Even in the light heavyweight division, he loses now to Nemkov. They were pushing the narrative that he's the best light heavyweight in the world. Obviously, he's not. They now maybe will claim Nemkov is. He is not. I like Bellator a lot. It's a lot of fun to watch. But when they start pushing the narrative that they have the best of the best fighter in the world, I disagree strongly. They don't have the best light heavyweight division. Bellator has good fighters. They do. Let's see what Nemkov's ranked here on Tapology. Tapology has Nemkov at 18 in the world. At light heavyweight. That's not 100% accurate, but he's probably somewhere in the top 15 in terms of skills. But he's not the number one. Ryan Bader was not the number one. He's a former UFC fighter who decided to leave because he knew he wasn't going to win a belt there. Nemkov, though, I think is very skilled and could find himself in the UFC eventually. I'd be interested in possibly seeing him sign with the UFC in a couple years if he's able to defend this Bellator belt and things get stale. Why not consider a move to the UFC? Maybe it'll happen. Maybe he fights out of his contract. Maybe the UFC signs him. I think there could be a lot of interesting matchups. I think he's very skilled. But as far as claiming he's the best right now, no. He doesn't have the resume to prove that. Neither did Ryan Bader. Bader's a really good fighter. Nemkov, really good fighter. Not best in the world. Bellator throws that narrative out there. They're trying to one-up the UFC, trying to get a little respect out there, but I don't think it's any bit legit. Scott Coker, when he says that, I kind of think, come on, man. I think we all know the UFC is the pinnacle, but Bellator is really good. There's a lot of good fighters there, and there's guys that could be in the top 15. I'm not saying that Bellator doesn't have top 15 fighters. They do, but not number one. And they don't have enough depth in their divisions. As I just showed you, John Salter is recently, 4 years ago, I guess not super recent, but fights a guy who's 0-2 as a pro. That would never happen in the UFC. If John Salter was in the UFC, he would never fight a guy who's 0-2 when he's a middleweight inside of the UFC. You guys know. You guys know what I mean here. It's the narrative they're pushing, and obviously Jones vacating and moving up to heavyweight obviously helped them push that narrative. So they wanted to capitalize on it, and honestly, can't blame them. Kind of a good idea, and maybe brought more eyes to it, claiming that they have the best in the world. But overall, fun card. We saw a big win for Nemkov. Very exciting prospect, Valentine Moldovsky. John Salter, definitely in the mix. Julia Budd remains atop, right behind Cyborg in the women's featherweight division. And Amosov is a guy to keep an eye on at 170 pounds. 24-0 as a pro. I'm very excited to see what he does in the future in the welterweight division. But all right, guys, that is pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. Also, guys, follow my social media, Instagram and Twitter, and I will see you all in the next video.